I recently saw an ad with one line before it got cut off. It said, if you're looking to determine when you can stop working, start. That's a brilliant hook, so I'm borrowing it. Most people spend more time planning a vacation than they do the last chapter of their life, and that can actually cost you years. By the end of this video, you're going to walk away with 4 concrete, usable numbers about your own retirement. We're going to cover the math, we're going to cover the money, and we're going to cover something most retirement videos skip entirely, the behavioral side, because it turns out one of the biggest hurdles in retirement isn't financial at all. Let's make this real right away with an example instead of talking in the abstract the whole time. Picture someone named Diane, 58 years old, sitting on a $2 million portfolio, hoping to retire at 62. On paper, that number sounds like plenty, maybe even more than plenty. But before we run a single calculation for her, we need to define the destination. Because stop working means very different things to different people, and running the wrong version of the math for Diane could either scare her out of a retirement she can actually afford, or worse, give her false confidence. There are really 3 versions of this. Traditional retirement is where you fully stop and fill your time with hobbies, travel, grandkids, whatever isn't paid work. Work optional means you step away from your day job, but choose to consult, freelance, or work part-time entirely on your own terms, not because anyone's asking. Financial freedom means you work only because you want to, not because you have to, since your money already covers your life either way, but you get real enjoyment or engagement from your job, so you keep going. These versions matter enormously because they demand radically different plans. Someone who needs $12,000 a month directly from savings forever needs a completely different portfolio than someone planning to earn $3,000 or $4,000 a month consulting through their 60s. Here's a behavioral truth worth sitting with. A lot of high achievers, and Diane might be one of them, don't actually want zero work. What they want is autonomy, the ability to say no, to choose which work they accept. If that's you, own it honestly, because it makes the financial math dramatically more achievable than chasing full traditional retirement. So which version is Diane actually planning for? That answer shapes everything else that follows. Most retirement content out there approaches this completely backwards, obsessing over replacing your old income dollar for dollar, when the real question is much simpler. How much does your life actually cost once you get there? Your retirement number is a spending number, not an income number, and people are routinely genuinely surprised once they actually run it, especially high earners. Diane was earning $300,000 a year during her working years. Once she actually maps out her real retirement spending, she might only need $110,000 or $120,000. She's no longer paying payroll tax, no longer saving 15% of her income every paycheck, her mortgage is paid off, and her kids are fully financially independent and out of the household. The categories that actually add up are housing, including the mortgage or rent, property taxes, insurance and maintenance, healthcare, meaning premiums, deductibles, and out-of-pocket costs, food and daily living, travel and leisure, family support, taxes, since yes, they absolutely still exist in retirement, and discretionary spending on top of all that. Once Diane has a real annual number instead of a guess, she finally has a foundation to build from. Let's say her honest number comes out to $10,000 a month, $120,000 a year. Now we can actually work with something concrete. Here's the formula that changes how people see retirement. Annual spending minus guaranteed income equals your portfolio's burden. Your income floor is everything that shows up without touching your investments. Social security, pension income, rental income, annuity payments, or part-time work. Let's run Diane's numbers. Her target is $120,000. Her household social security comes to $55,000 a year. She's planning $25,000 a year in part-time consulting. That means her portfolio only needs to generate the remaining $40,000 annually. That gap, that $40,000, is what her portfolio actually has to produce. And every dollar of income she builds into that floor is a dollar her portfolio doesn't have to generate, which can move her retirement date earlier. This is exactly where the timing of Social Security becomes one of the most important financial decisions of Diane's entire retirement. The difference between claiming at 62 versus 70 is enormous. For the median worker, waiting from 62 to 70 increases your benefit by about 76%, often a difference of $1,000 to $1,500 a month. Over a 25-year retirement, That's potentially $300,000 to $450,000 in additional lifetime income. And here's something worth addressing directly because it's on a lot of people's minds right now. This year's Social Security Trustees report moved up the projected trust fund depletion date to 2032. If Congress does nothing, benefits would drop to around 78% of what's scheduled. A lot of people hear that and panic, assuming it means claim early, grab what you can. Based on the actual math, that instinct is almost always the expensive move. Even factoring in a future benefit cut, delaying tends to win for most life expectancies because you're comparing a permanently reduced check for life against a larger one, even a slightly trimmed larger one. Most people have never pulled their own Social Security statement. Go to ssa.gov this week and actually look at yours. Now we get to the number everyone actually wants. How big does Diane's portfolio need to be? Here's the foundational formula. Portfolio need equals your income gap divided by your withdrawal rate, the percentage you take from your portfolio each year. There are a few common guardrails here. The traditional 4% rule, built for a 30-year retirement, was recently revised upward to 4.7%. A more conservative range of 3 to 3.5% suits an early retiree or someone with a much longer time horizon, maybe a 40 or 45-year retirement. A more aggressive range of 5.5 to 6% can work if your spending is genuinely flexible and you're willing to adjust withdrawals based on market performance. Using Diane's $40,000 gap and a flexible 5.5% withdrawal rate, her target portfolio comes out to about $730,000. One important disclaimer though, that number didn't factor in taxes since we were working off her spending target, not an income target. Once you factor taxes in, realistically that portfolio need climbs closer to $800,000. Now which one you're solving for. This formula is simple and genuinely powerful, but it's incomplete on its own because it assumes markets behave steadily, and we both know they don't. Markets are volatile, sometimes brutally so, and this is exactly where we need to stress test the plan before Diane commits to a date. If Diane retires right into a bear market and needs to draw from her portfolio while it's down significantly, a severe enough downturn could permanently damage the portfolio's long-term viability in a way that never shows up in the clean version of the formula. This is called sequence of returns risk, and it's genuinely one of the biggest threats to a retirement plan that looks perfectly fine on paper. Think about someone retiring in early 2000, just as the dot-com bubble burst, or in 2008, right into the financial crisis, compared to someone with the identical savings rate and identical withdrawals who happened to retire 5 years earlier or 5 years later than those events. Same math, same discipline, dramatically different outcomes, purely based on timing they couldn't control. There are 3 things that protect against this risk. First, a cash buffer, 12 to 24 months in cash or cash-like short-term bonds, so you're never forced to sell equities while the market's depressed and given time to recover. Second, a bond allocation or genuinely diversified portfolio, so you're never exposed to 100% of the market's losses at once. Third, real spending flexibility, meaning your withdrawal by even 10 to 15% during a rough stretch can dramatically improve your odds of long-term success. Keep in mind, when it comes to retirement, behavioral risk matters just as much as market risk. The best portfolio, honestly, is simply the one you won't panic sell when the market drops 30 or 40% or more. Let's talk about the levers that actually move Diane's math, because behavioral risk matters just as much as market risk here. Lever 1 is Social Security timing, which we already covered, but it bears repeating. Delaying to 70 can reduce your required portfolio by hundreds of thousands of dollars. And for many people, that single decision beats saving aggressively for several extra years. Lever 2 is tax strategy. 2 retirees can each hold an identical $2 million portfolio and end up with wildly different after-tax income depending purely on how that money is structured. There are 3 buckets worth thinking about carefully. A taxable brokerage account, where investments held over a year qualify for favorable long-term capital gains rates, often 0 or 15% depending on your income. A traditional IRA or 401k, where every withdrawal gets taxed as ordinary income, no exceptions. And a Roth IRA or Roth 401k, which provides completely tax-free withdrawals in retirement, no matter how large your account has grown. Strategic Roth conversions during low-income years in your 50s or 60s, ideally before Social Security and required minimum distributions, kick in and push your income back up, can lower your lifetime tax bill by tens of thousands of dollars over the course of retirement. Good tax planning doesn't just save money on paper, it can genuinely buy you real years of freedom. Lever 3 is the healthcare bridge. And if Diane retires before 65, this deserves serious attention. Before Medicare kicks in, annual healthcare costs can easily run $15,000 to $25,000, and that can be a real shock if you're not ready for it. Here's an update that changed dramatically just this year. The enhanced subsidies that had been lowering ACA marketplace premiums since 2021 officially expired on January 1st, 2026. Premium payments for subsidized enrollees jumped by an average of 114%, and marketplace premiums overall rose about 26%. If your income sits above roughly 400% of the federal poverty level, you may now get no subsidy at all where you previously did. For someone in Diane's position retiring before 65, this means that $15,000 to $25,000 estimate might now be the low end for a lot of households, not the high end. It's worth carefully modeling your actual ACA marketplace premiums, watching for that subsidy cliff, and knowing your likely deductible before locking in an early retirement date. The good news is that once Medicare kicks in at 65, healthcare costs typically become far more manageable than the years right before it. Lever 4 is working one more year, or 1 year less. Each additional year of work does 3 things at once. It adds to your savings, it adds to your Social Security benefit, and it removes 1 year from your drawdown period. One intentional extra year can close an enormous gap, and it's genuinely worth sitting down and running those exact numbers for your own situation. Okay, so we've built the entire financial framework, top to bottom. Now here's the question most financial videos skip entirely, and it might genuinely be the one that matters most for Diane. Can she emotionally tolerate not earning anymore? This one hits harder than a lot of people expect it to. Research on retirement behavior shows that plenty of people who are completely financially ready still delay retiring or genuinely struggle once they actually do it. Work provides something money alone simply can't replace. Maybe it's identity, the quiet belief that I am what I do for a living. Maybe it's structure, a built-in reason to get up each morning, and a schedule that shapes your day without you having to invent one. Maybe it's community, colleagues, relationships, a sense of belonging to something larger than yourself. And for a lot of people, especially high earners like Diane, it's status, the title, and the recognition that comes with years spent earning it. Retirement failure is very often psychological before it's ever mathematical. The people who struggle most in retirement are frequently the ones who plan their finances perfectly and their actual life not at all. I'm not telling Diane, or you, not to retire. I'm saying plan your life with the exact same intention you plan your finances. What will you actually do on a random Tuesday morning at 10 a.m., 3 years into retirement? What gives your life meaning outside a job title? Who are you outside of your role at work? Those questions genuinely determine whether retirement ends up feeling like freedom or feeling like a loss. So let's bring this all together. Rate yourself honestly from 1 to 10 across 5 areas. Money, do you have enough saved? Cash flow, do you have reliable income beyond the portfolio? Taxes, are you withdrawing efficiently across all 3 buckets? Flexibility, can you adjust spending if markets turn? And psychology, just as important as the rest, are you actually ready for life after work? If Diane scores 7 or higher across all 5, she's closer to ready than she probably realizes. But if she's got a 9 in money and a 3 in psychology, that's a clear signal there's real work left to do. Not a pass or fail grade, just an honest map of where to focus next. Most people treat retirement planning as a destination, a number to hit, a date circled on a calendar somewhere out in the future. The people who actually get there on their own terms, with real confidence instead of anxiety, treat it as a process instead of a finish line. Start early, weight the model as your life changes, because it will change. Make intentional decisions about Social Security, about which tax bucket you pull from and when, and about what you actually want life to look like and mean once you're truly living inside it, not just funding it from the outside. The math in this video works, and I've shown you exactly how to run it for yourself, but the math is only the starting line. You're ready to stop working when the math works, and your mind does too, not one without the other. So here's your homework this week, the 4 numbers I promised you at the very start of this video. First, pull your Social Security statement from ssa.gov. Most people have never done this in their entire lives, and it genuinely doesn't matter if you're in your 30s, your 40s, or your 50s like Diane, do it anyway. Second, write down what your life actually costs each month. Real spending, not your income. Those are two very different numbers. Third, run your own gap number using the exact formula we covered today. Annual spending minus your income floor. Fourth, ask yourself honestly what stop working actually means to you personally. Which of Diane's 3 versions you're truly aiming for, because that answer changes every number that follows it. Do all 4 of those, even imperfectly, and you'll walk away with a far more complete, far more honest plan than most people ever bother building for themselves. Have you actually run these numbers before? Or is this a completely new set of questions for you today? I'd genuinely love to hear where you land, so drop it in the comments below. All of it, even the messy parts. If you got something real out of this, hit subscribe so you catch the next one. And if you know someone who spends more time planning a vacation than they do their own retirement, send this their way right now. It might be exactly the nudge they need to finally sit down and run the actual math for themselves.